2022 soul story. If you have a sun rising or your moon is in the sign, all my readings are general, but we will give you some key astrological dates and intuitive messages that we hope will empower you as you move through the next few weeks. This is Romy, and thank you for taking the time to tune in. Please make sure you're subscribed. Drop me a like and a comment if the reading resonates for you. It helps to support my work. Thank you. So we're opening up with the energy of the Five of Wands for you this month, Virgo. Sometimes we have to say no so that we're in a position to be able to say yes, because really what you're doing this month is looking ahead and you're really considering what is going to sustain you or be sustainable for you. Now, the Five of Wands suggests to me that the interference and the depletion that's coming from outside opinion or for being caught up in energetic situations that are not serving you or allowing you the time to get focused on what matters and what's important to you is got to be kind of coming to a point of you making a decision. You know, I think there's something about you sitting between choice and action this month, and in that pause you're considering what is it that you need, and this might not be exactly what you want, but with the Five of Wands there's a conflict that is sitting kind of really heavy on your chest, I feel, in some area or another. And it may be because you're honestly feeling, Virgo, that life is not your own right now, because of the people and the situations you're involved in, or perhaps the inner criticism or judgment that you're making towards yourself. And this is a month about reclaiming things for yourself. So in Taurus energy, we're in a fellow earth sign, which is very compatible for you in terms of understanding the energetic landscape of things. The first week of May is significant. We have Venus shifting into Aries, so we become more assertive, more passionate, more free-spirited actually. And we also have Jupiter sextile to Pluto on the 3rd, building up to the annual Sun conjunct Uranus on the 5th. Now here are some really positive breakthrough energies that can help facilitate those decisions that you need to be making for yourself this month. And it's not about watering it down, you know, not about watering down the decisions that you're making or you yourself. You know, this is a month where we're into eclipse season. You're still feeling the impact of that Taurus new moon eclipse at the end of April. And a lot of things are going to be coming to a head. There's an opportunity for you to start drawing a line under certain things. And of course, you know, eclipse energies, they always bring these sort of big hellos and dramatic goodbyes. And to the degree that it impacts your own personal chart is going to reveal how much this might be impacting you personally. But the Ace of Swords suggests that you're cutting through something. I really like this because the clarity and the truth that's realized from you in this regard is going to be helpful if you need a little bit more Dutch courage to make some of those choices and decisions. Now, we're in 9th house energy when we look at Taurus season for you. So there's this feeling about wanting to expand your horizons and expand your awareness. You know, there's a restlessness, I think, that's also brewing within you. And that probably is directly resulting from a place of feeling a little bit exhausted as well, or finding some situations or even some people a little bit tiresome. And just really recognizing how much you've grown apart or evolved, or, you know, just really need to have a little bit of a shake up in terms of where you're directing your time and energy. Now, we do have a Mercury retrograde coming in this month. Of course, it's your ruling planet, so you always, along with Gemini, tend to feel these more acutely. This retrograde is actually in Gemini. It's going to be happening on the 10th of the month. It will flip into Taurus on the 22nd, but its overall cycle taking us through 3rd of June. So you'll feel that right from the beginning of the month. And of course, we know that sometimes communication gets a little hazy and disconnected, but it's always a beautiful invitation to go inwards. And for me, that Ace of Swords is suggesting that there's a very important revelation that's coming as a result of that particular cycle, and an opportunity perhaps for some of you to revisit something and maybe feel like this time I'm going to approach it differently. This time I'm going to do it in a way that I know is going to serve me in terms of honouring the changes and the work that I've already put in. for so long, I think it's been about them, Virgo. And for once, I want this month for you to feel that it is actually about you. Now, your Princess of Cups, your Page of Cups, shows me that you have this really beautiful balance going on, that even where you have to perhaps step in, or you have to be very direct or honest with people, with yourself, there's also this sense of it being kind of wrapped in sort of very loving, compassionate energy with that Page of Cups. So the deliverance of the news, even though it kind of packs a punch, you know, it still sort of lands softly in a way. And I think that's a delicate art to kind of get that right, but I see you being able to do that. And it's a particular skill that I think you know, people can really recognize in you as well. You know, you are able to deliver the bad news, you are able to, you know, say the uncomfortable things or the hard truths, but there's always that ability to kind of frame something in a very positive, expansive way so that everybody understands where they're growing from this situation. And I really want you to be giving yourself credit for that, because I see you strongly in that position through the course of this month. Now, the other big news, of course, is that Jupiter is shifting out of Pisces into Aries on the 10th of the month. It will be there until October 28th before it dips back into Pisces again at the end of the year, and then into 2023, Jupiter in Aries. So you'll be getting a little bit of a preview in May as to the sorts of things that you can expect to be coming up for you through the course of next year. Now, in Aries energy, that's 8th house for you. This is an incredibly auspicious placement for receiving money. So keep that in mind. And if there are things that, you know, you're trying to shake up in your world, or you're trying to address by way of stability and security, then sometimes, you know, the benevolence and the benefic planet, you know, in terms of how it brings light into that, can sort of bring money from unexpected places. Now, you've got the energy of the Queen of Swords coming in here, which is typically Libra, Aquarian, Gemini. So that as a sign might be very relevant through the course of this month, but also as we talk about some of these bigger planetary shifts and the adjustment that's required, one of the things that I see taking place for you is just an ability to be able to be a little bit more adaptable than you ever have been. As an earth sign, sometimes it can take a little bit longer just to process, or to kind of allow yourself, give yourself permission to change. And yet with these eclipse energies, these really important portals that we're walking through, the showdown that's taking place between the sun and the moon, and really the consideration of both your inner and outer worlds and expression of energy, that Queen of Swords suggests to me that you've lived and learned the experience. You know, the emotional journey may have been hard, but what comes from it is an incredible wisdom and discernment. And I see you now bringing that to the table. Now, some people might look towards you this month as being displaying energy that feels a little bit aloof or disconnected. What I would say to you is it's actually just you being incredibly smart, because again, you're not wanting to get involved with what the challenge is, or where people are just trying to sit in a really low vibe energy. You have work to do, you have things to prioritize, decisions and choices to make. And in order to do that, you really have to be given some time and space. So I almost have this air of like, not impenetrable energy, but I do have you sort of, you know, putting a little bit of an extra barrier in place, really, a little bit of a gate, so that only those closest to you or who you know from an energy perspective are not going to deplete you or try to kind of psychic attack or be that energy vampire going to get anywhere near you this month. And it's really because you need to be making these bigger choices and decisions. I think you're truly deciding what to let go of and what to hold on to. Now, for sure, the eclipse might come in and make that choice for you from some fated intervention that takes place. That can always happen quite suddenly. But where you're trying to figure it out for yourself and you're really going deeper into your intuition, think about when we're talking about this, what do I need to let go? How do we figure that out? If you're really struggling with those choices and decisions, is there any oxygen left in this space, is what I want to say, in this relationship, in this job, in this approach that you're taking, in this project you're involved in this friendship that you have, you know? So that's the question to ask yourself. Is there any oxygen left? And if there's something worth holding on to, there's always going to feel like that seed of hope. Now, the Eight of Cups suggests that you will be quite definitive. There is clear indication here that it is time to move on from something. But honestly, like, I feel within the energy of that Eight of Cups, there's more of an acceptance on your part, because it's coming from a place that I just want to make space for what else is coming in for me. Now, we have the full moon lunar eclipse coming in on the 15th in the sign of Scorpio at 25 degrees. This can bring about some significant shifts for you. We're illuminating that third house, which is about the way that you communicate, the way that you think. So there's something profound changing in the way that you think. And in ninth house, that makes sense as well in Taurus season, because there's changing philosophy here going on. Now, there's positive aspects with Pluto, Mars, Neptune, meaning that we're guided very spiritually. We're guided in faith for what's taking place. Now, this particular depiction of the Eight of Cups has the eclipse going on. So I know there's going to be something incredibly emotive taking place during that moon that you have to release and let go of. But remember, Scorpio energy is also incredibly magnetic. So what you do say at that moment, both to yourself and others, has real charge to it. It has impact. It will allow for a complete rebirth. Remember, Scorpio energy is about that rising up from the ashes. We've got Phoenix type energy. It's death and rebirth that we're dealing with by way of themes. Of course, third house is also connecting into the short term. So there may be some choices and decisions that you have to make temporarily that says, I just don't have time or space for this. And this is again where we go back to this kind of sitting between the choice and the action, and also having to say no so you're in a position to say yes to things. I think you're going to get quite a clear idea around that full moon of what it is that you have to do. There's a sense of feeling tired with it though, so be prepared for that. It might just be that having come to have to make that decision, or to be sitting in the energy of sort of a complex or maybe quite difficult situation, that, you know, we have, there we go, Two of Swords. We have this sense of the drain or the toll that it's taken on you, because at the end of the day, like, there is an awareness, I think, from Virgo that, you know, the impact of whatever choice or decision you're going to make, it is going to affect other people, and you know, you care about them, you care about their well-being, you care about, you know, how that's going to change the dynamic and the situation, the setup of something. But at the same time, we have to start reclaiming our life. We have to be able to say, I too get to be selfish. I too get to choose things that I know, you know, my heart is longing for, or that I'm ready for, or that the potential is sitting within me. Really, this month, I feel it's about you listening to two things. It's the breath and it's the beat of your heart. That's the conversation that's going to tell you at any given moment exactly where you're at. And if you're trying to make those tough choices, that's going to illuminate what's going on within the body. Eight of Pentacles. This is about mastery. But remember, as we move into Gemini season, and it's the 10th house for you, we have this lighting up of your career, thinking about what your truest legacy is. But you know what? For some of you, I feel like there's a rejection of the convention or the way that it used to be done. I think what's really stepping forth here is that you want your legacy to be in your heart and in the heart of those that you've touched. You want to do things in your way. And that means, again, that you have to be even braver with some of the decisions that you're about to make. Because if you're going to be breaking processes, remember, you know, we've got Pluto retrograde, we've also got these eclipses, so there's a very strong deconstruction energy that's taking place in May. And for Virgo, I feel it's very much about the release of like other people's energy that doesn't belong to you, so that you understand who you are, what you stand for, you know, without that kind of influence or that cloak over you. And when we really understand who we are, what we think about ourselves, it also puts us in an incredibly strong position so that other people's misunderstanding of who we are. It doesn't impact us. It doesn't affect our reality. And that's really important, because I have you incredibly focused. Queen of Swords, Eight of Pentacles, I'm like, no one's going to stop you now from sort of saying, this is what's right for me. This is the way I have to do it. This is how I'm going to honor myself in this way. Now, I think for some of you, there's going to be some interesting conversations around your work and career, where you're spending your time if work isn't on the radar for you, how you're showing up within the community. But there's a desire to attach more meaning to things. If you have no heart to it, it's just not going to work for you anymore. Now, you might not be in a position through the month of May to make all of those changes instantaneously. However, don't be surprised if the universe doesn't deliver some opportunities that can bring about absolutely instantaneous change. But overall, we're building resiliency here. This is a really important month for building resiliency, so that you are preparing yourself for these much bigger energetic shifts. It's very strong karmic influence through the month of May that we're experiencing. They'll be playing out strongly in those close personal relationships. But for you as well, I think there's a strong emphasis about the work that you do and how you approach it. Does this really speak to the person that I am, to what I believe in? King of Cups coming in, water sign, Scorpio, Pisces, Cancer, may be relevant for some of you. But what does the King of Cups tell us? Well, in a different way to the Queen of Swords, but kind of similar, he also shows us that the journey he's been through on an emotional level, the mastery that's come from all of these experiences, has afforded him a position to be able to really have that deep sense of knowing and self-trust, and positioning himself within the world in a kind of place that says, yes, I can have compassion and tolerance and forgiveness, and I can read the energy of the room, and I can understand at any given moment what's going on in my emotional energy field, so I can be so truly accountable for myself. That helps me to respond and connect to other people in a deeper way, in a more meaningful way, in a more sensitive way. And there's something really to be learned and gained from him showing up in your reading this month, because I think what you're demonstrating both to yourself and others is that sometimes we have to be tough to be kind. Sometimes we have to sort of honour the experiences that we've gone through and kind of take a stand and say, I'm actually not going to allow that again. So I've got a really firm boundary in place, but it doesn't mean that I don't still love you. It doesn't mean that I don't still care about you. So I think there's something important there. Now, you do have Eight of Cups, above this King of Cups. So, for some of you, it may be the release or the movement or the walking away of somebody who is expressing themselves in that water energy. You may have somebody who's just inconsistent in terms of their emotional availability, or some of that passive aggressiveness or moodiness has just become a little bit too difficult to tolerate. And so again, there's just this release that needs to happen. So we're kind of looking at some of the shadow aspects coming through. But you know what? You're not doing it kind of slyly, because that Ace of Swords says you're going to just call it out and you're going to say, here's why I'm doing this. I think that matters. I feel like kind of being really upfront and honest with people is going to stand you in really good stead. They might not like it. It might be initially sort of the ruffling of a few feathers, but ultimately it's what you then get to live with within yourself. And I think as you move through this month and you release some of these energies and some of that baggage, it's freeing up so much more like space in your mind to start to bring in more creativity, more thoughts about what is possible. And that's really important, because all of the energies are working with you in that regard. Now, Mars is going to shift into Aries on the 24th, loves to be in the sign. So we're getting motivated, we feel independent, we've got desire and drive really supporting us. And then further towards the end of the month, Venus shifts into Taurus. So from a relationship perspective, again, she loves to be here, So we come into a much more tactile, sensual way to connect to ourselves and others. But again, this phrase about, what's going to sustain me? What is sustainable in my life at this moment? Strength says that we're going to have to dig deep a little bit. And I think it is just about some of the decisions that you're going to be making for yourself. The sacrifices that might well come along with that. You know, we've got another new moon coming in Gemini on the 30th of the month. And so with that, we have a sense of, I want to say, some surprising offers get put on the table that you had no sight of. I feel like there's quite a sudden kind of, there's a sudden conversation or message that makes its way to you that feels like this wants to be considered too. So you may feel like you're making a choice between two things, or you're quite set on a specific direction. And then I think there might be a little bit of a curveball or a bit of a wild card energy that comes in right at the end of the month. So keep that in mind. Now we have the asteroid goddess is also shifting this month. Sarah is moving into Cancer on that full moon lunar eclipse. So there's a lot more nourishment available here, and we're really connecting into things, into people that we feel we've got those meaningful bonds with. And then we have Vesta connected to that beautiful inner flame, shifting into Pisces. So there's a beautiful, requirement for spiritual sustenance here. But again, we need to make sure we're not going into savior mode or, sacrifice mode with that. Okay, so let's take a look at your oracle cards, Virgo. We have the sacred waters, nourishment, replenishment, rest, self-care. If you don't take care of you, May feels to me like one of these months where not a lot of people are necessarily aware or noticing what it is that you need. So you have to call it out, you have to tell them, you have to be honest where there's a requirement on your part to say, I need more time, I need to take a little space right now, this is too much for me. Like, you have to be upfront and honest, otherwise I feel like people are just going to take advantage a little bit. And I honestly think the whole theme for you in May is actually about readdressing and reclaiming your own energy, your own pathway, your own life, so to speak. And then not necessarily like, pushing everyone out, but just learning to say no so that you can then say yes to things that actually are really important to you. Okay, so let's have a look at your Moonology cards. Okay, new moon in Gemini, beautiful. Think it through. Interesting. Okay, so we said there's something coming in, curveball, wild card. Yeah, it is important that you take some thought and consideration as you sit between this choice and action. So, let's go back to some of the things that came through. Let's remind ourselves to connect to the breath and the heartbeat. They're going to tell us what our body feels and how our body wants to respond to this. We want to put ourselves in a position where we're really thinking about what do we need right now, not just what do we want. Because this is also about, your ability to be able to thrive in the pathway that you find yourself in right now, not just what you're preparing for what's going to come 6 months, a year, 5 years from now. Okay, let's have a look at the color cards for you. Okay, you have the color of coral even. Allow flow and synchronicity into your life. Okay, beautiful. To put ourselves in a position where we can actually allow flow, we do have to get out of our own way a little bit, which also means we have to get out of our own head. So when we're in a retrograde season, that can sometimes feel a bit more challenging. And especially when we have a full moon that's lighting up the way that we think and the thoughts that we have, you have a lot of kind of mixed messages going on there. So how do we handle that? What is the way to approach it through the course of May? Well, really, I think it's about dropping into the physical body. That's what Taurus energy wants from us, as does Aries energy. It's about the physical feeling of movement. And so as we come down from a lot of that Piscean energy we've been working with the last few weeks, that will feel like a little bit of more of a grounded sense of relief, and also helps us to kind of bring things into the tangible. So that's going to be important. Understanding that eclipses are always going to bring a shock to the system, whether it feels just like a little jolt or it's like a huge big kind of, the ground just gave way beneath me, depending on what you've got going on and how it impacts you. Then it's about the recognition of what is it going to take to restore balance within my nervous system as quickly as I can. So what are the tools that I've got? What does it take for me to be able to do that? And splitting out your energy or trying to be all things to all people is not going to give you the opportunity to find that sense of peace. So keep that in mind and keep your plans as light as possible, and limit the amount that you're saying yes to if it's on other people's terms. If it's about what you want, what you need, what you feel is going to support you, then by all means. Yeah, that's you working in your flow. So that's the way to address it. So this is a general reading for the month of May, Virgo. Just a reminder, just after this video, you can see a pick a card screen grab for my new deck, Life Soul Vision Oracle, which is now available to pre-order. You can find the link in the description box underneath, but you'll get to see the full deck if you just hang on to the end of the video and get an extra little bonus message if you do a screen grab for yourself. What I'm going to invite you to do just now is think about a personal question that might not have come up in the main spread, okay? We're just going to pull a couple of cards on that. Now, if you're new to the channel, we cover these off in the extended version of this reading. Again, you can find the link for that in the description box underneath. It's a way to support my channel and the work that I do so that I can continue to deliver all the free content. And also for you to get another 20-25 minutes of insights into this month. Okay. We are going to clarify with the Five of Wands. And we have the Six of Swords. Now, all the decks that I use, Virgo, are also listed in the description and comment section underneath as well, okay? Queen of Swords come up again here. Okay, we've got the energy of death coming in, which also links to Scorpio as a sign, and the High Priestess. Three of Swords. Okay, we've got another Eight of Pentacles. Three, and the Fool. There's a lot of really like constructive, sort of practical energy that's coming in for you this month, which is going to serve you really well. Six of Wands, beautiful. Okay, what does the Eight of Cups want to tell us? We have the Queen of Cups, Two of Wands, and the Devil. You really are going to need some time out, you know, to think through things. Knight of Cups, Ten of Pentacles, Hanged Man. Beginnings and endings, yeah, that's very Eclipse energies. Ten of Swords, Ace of Wands, that's why you need your strength, you know, to see you through the transition. Judgment. Five of Cups. Okay, Virgo, I'm going to leave it there. Thank you so much for tuning in. I hope that this has resonated. Be sure to check back in throughout the month as the energies keep unfolding. If you're joining me for the extended, I will see you there. And remember to hold on and see your pick a card through my new deck, Life Soul Vision Oracle. Thank you. I will see you again next month. You have a great one.